So welcome everyone to the channel. I'll start off by apologizing for my voice. Been a little under the weather lately, so it's a little hoarse. If I break off every now and then, it's because of that. Today, we're in my 1966 Mustang Fastback. Now, let me just be the first to say that I have never been a huge Mustang fan. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but for me, if I were out at a car show or what have you, or if I saw one out and about, I mean, I would look and say, yeah, it's nice, but I really wouldn't pay a lot of attention to it, to be honest with you. Just because there's a lot of them out there, it just never really appealed to me that much. Now, I've had a lot of Mustangs in the past. Way back in the day, my very first Mustang was a 1985 Mustang GT carbureted, and that car was a lot of fun. I actually owned a couple of identical 1996 GT convertibles. One was a great car, the other one was a piece of junk. It was just tragic how bad that car was. And then of course I had my GT 500, which I really enjoyed. But as far as older Mustangs, I mean, I've had a few. I had a 66 coupe, which I'm going to talk about. But as far as older Mustangs, I was just never really that into them until I ran across a 1965 Fastback. Now, here's the story. I was actually out looking for my Shelby Cobra and trying to track it down at the time when I ran across a 65 Mustang Fastback, completely accidentally. It was forest green, almost the same color as my my Shelby. Black interior, 4-speed car, 302, really super clean. And I didn't know very much about Mustangs at that time, but I knew the Fastbacks were worth more. And so I talked to the owner. He threw out a price that I thought was actually pretty reasonable. We negotiated just a little bit, but I ended up buying the car. So, long story short, I brought the car home. The car actually came with a ton of extra parts. I mean, a ton of extra parts. I had like a whole truckload of extra parts. So I ended up putting the parts online for sale, and I was going to keep the Mustang. So lo and behold, this Mustang aficionado comes along, wants to buy the parts. He sees the Mustang and he starts asking me about it, asks me what I paid for it, and he just kept making me offers until finally I just couldn't turn down the profit. I had to sell it, but I always regretted it. So I ended up buying my 66 Mustang coupe, which was a really nice looking coupe. In my opinion, it was one of the nicest looking Mustang coupes out there. But the truth of the matter is, I really didn't enjoy driving it. There was just something about the clutch and the way it rode and drove I never really cared for. So I ended up getting rid of it, but I was always keeping one eye open for a Mustang Fastback when I ran across this car. Now, I'm going to take this thing back to the shop and we're going to walk around it, and I'll show you guys the interior and exterior and talk about it more in detail. But if you remember a video I did some time back about going and test driving a 1967 Mustang Fastback, that car and this car look a lot alike. They're very similar as far as color and design, but obviously there's a pretty big difference between the 65 and 66 and the 67 and 68. Quite honestly, 67 to 68 is generally speaking a little bit more popular, a little more in demand, so it brings a little bit more money. But I didn't end up buying that car, and well, it's windy outside, so you guys probably aren't able to hear me that well anyway. So let's go ahead, we will head back to the shop and we'll do a walk around and talk about this car a little bit more. So under the fiberglass hood of this beast is a 302 small block exhaust manifold, aluminum heads, aluminum intake, Edelbrock carburetor. It did have a Holley on it before, but you guys know me and Holleys, and there's kind of a story about that. I'll tell you in a minute. Aluminum radiator. It has power steering, no power brakes, but it does have discs up front, drums in the back. It's got a 4-speed manual transmission. The hood is fiberglass, which makes it kind of light, and I do love the fact that it does have hood pins. Don't ask me why, I just think that that's really cool, and I think it completes the look of this car. See, hood pins. Okay, so taking a walk inside the interior is in really good shape. Dash pad, headliner, rear seats are there. I just have them folded down. I think it looks a lot better. Seats are in excellent condition. Has red seat belts, which I don't know, I think that's cool. Another one of those little quirks that probably only I am going to find cool. See, it's got a 4-speed, all the factory gauges, everything works, including the clock, although it doesn't keep accurate time. Stock looking stereo. And then in there we have the aftermarket Bluetooth sound system. It's got a nice little sound system in here. Just taking a walk around the car. You can see it is very clean, really beautiful color. And I can see why a lot of people thought this was the 67 I ended up going and driving. Basically the same color combination, just different year, different wheels and tires. It does have the original black plates from California, which tells me it's been in California since new. And there goes the wind. It's crazy out there. You think we're in Kansas. Oh, and again, hood pins, huh? Hood pins. So the car definitely has a look to it. Let me tell you a little bit about the 67 that I went and drove. If you guys didn't catch that video, it's a 67. It had a 302 also. It was a 5-speed, very similar to this, just different wheels and tires. But other than that, very, very close. Wasn't quite as clean of a build as this car, but the guy wanted $40,000 for it, and he was firm at 40. Wasn't going any lower. I thought that was a little high. I was going to come in around maybe mid-30s, try to meet him around 37 or so. But one night he sends me a text and he says, hey, 39 cash right now, let's do it. I'll sell it to you. So I fire back, how about 38? We'll do it for 38. And then I never hear from the guy again. And if you guys know me, that kind of irritates me. I mean, you know, say yes, no, piss off. I don't care, say something, but don't just leave me hanging, don't not respond. I hate it when people don't respond. So I put that one out of my mind. I have no idea if he sold it, what he did with it. I was already looking at this one, and this was a very close second. I'd actually been watching this one on Facebook Marketplace. That had been on there for quite a while, and the guy started out at a relatively high price for this car, in my opinion, but I didn't let that sway me. I continued to watch it. He dropped his price a little bit, and quite honestly, I ended up getting him down quite a bit off what he was asking, even after dropping his price a little bit. And I feel really good about the deal I got. This is a very nice build. It's actually a nicer build than that 67 was, but it did have a few problems when I first got it. The first thing is that the signals weren't working and they wouldn't self-cancel. So that took a lot of time from Ruben and a little time from Eddie, but they finally got those ironed out and everything seems to be working just fine on it now. Also with that Holley, for some reason under a light load, like if I was going down the freeway or at a consistent speed or just kind of easing through the gears, not really getting on it, it was stuttering. You could really, really feel it. Under a load, the car would do excellent, but anything under that, it would stutter, and it was having a rough time. Made for kind of an interesting drive because I drove it like an hour and 20 minutes coming home, and the whole way it was just doing the whole jitterbug thing. But ended up just replacing the Holley for an Edelbrock. Yes, I know Holleys do tend to make more power and what have you, but I'm just not a big fan. They're too finicky for me. Edelbrocks, you basically just set them once, throw them on there, and they pretty much work. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the performance of the car, and I'm very happy with the fact that it doesn't do the jitterbug anymore. It just cruises down the road very smoothly at any and all RPM, and the car is really great. About the only thing I really want to do to it now is there's a small squeak in the exhaust, which I need to take to my exhaust guy, Bob, here in Turlock, and have him take a look at that and see if he can remedy that. And one other thing I would like to do. In my opinion, the side of this car is just a little too plain. I mean, it's got the black racing stripes over the top of it, but it needs something here. And I think you know where I'm going with this. The typical Shelby stripe right along here. I'm even thinking I might go ahead and throw in something like a GT500, even though I know they didn't make GT500s in 65 or 66. Still, I think it would be kind of cool, kind of a one-off type thing. Because just to do the plain striping, I just don't think is what I'm looking for. I need some lettering or something like here to jazz it up. And essentially, even though I know it's not Eleanor, Eleanor is a 68, Eleanor is different, got a few more body mods and things like that. it's kind of a less expensive Eleanor clone, if you will. So that's my plan with this car at this point.